Zoltan, hi. Good to meet
Hey,
you again.
Dipankar.
Thanks for taking the time. I know you and I have been busy with ARMaaS and have been excited as well. It's been quite a journey, right? I mean, since the
Absolutely.
time this just hit us in the face and we said, okay, we got to do something about it. Alliance Relationship Management as a service. And you've lived it. I've lived it from the other side of the table. But I think it's time now that we share our experience and what the genesis for ARMaaS is. And if you don't mind, if you start, and I can
Yeah,
add in as well.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, as you know, for better or worse, I've been working on partner and alliances the majority of my career, right? Over decades. I age myself there, but it's been, you know, I've seen so much and worked on so many different initiatives where you're working with companies, collaborating with each other to come to a mutual outcome for a great outcome for customers. And so, where I'll kind of fast forward over, my time obviously at AWS and Google, leading partner teams and such, and then working on some pre-IPO and startup companies, understanding what they were doing from the partner perspective, and actually being on the other side of the aisle, where I was building programs at AWS, at Google, and then I was consuming programs, as a VP at Mapbox and Mapped In and other companies. Um, and and now what I've been focused on, and initially for the last few years, has been working as a consultant, bringing strategy and program development as an independent consultant to a number of different companies across services, ISVs, SIs, GSIs, etc. And the one constant I'm learning more and more, and I kind of knew it back in the day, I'm talking 10, 12 years ago, and I see it more and more every day, is these partner programs have been getting so complex. They're very competitive with each other. They're trying to outdo each other. They're trying to accelerate their businesses, and they're really trying to streamline everything for their customers to consume partner solutions, partner services, and such. And the huge gap, that was kind of the giant pink elephant in the room, was that no one really had the resources or the ability to keep up and work on these partner programs, work on, developing and taking advantage of incentives, co-marketing, co-selling. And then on top of all that, these large clouds, all of them do it. They're just raising the standard of who is a partner. Why is a service company qualified? Why is a solution good enough for them to recommend to a customer? And so they create all these requirements that, again, these companies, many, I'd say the 80-20 rule, like 20% kind of figure out how to do it and hire people how to work on it and get it done, but 80% are falling behind. And it's hard to hire people to do this. And it's really hard to take, your senior partner executives and have them spend their day looking at hundreds of programs across, various partners and trying to make it work. So that's really where this all came from, and you can talk a little bit about kind of, the tactics of what we worked on to develop the service, but that's kind of where it all started.
I don't know, no, absolutely. I remember the first day I met you, I was working with the services enterprise and I was trying to figure out, hey, how do we really partner with Google? And you were running globally the MSP program. And many hours and many meetings later, when we got to the MSP partner list, it was great, right? But things changed, and this we're talking what 2018, 2019, and
Yep.
things have changed dramatically since then. And and they're so dynamic even today. The partner programs with an Azure, GCP, AWS, Snowflake change probably a couple of times a year. It's super hard to keep up as a partner. It is complex. End of the day, it makes sense for the CSPs or cloud providers and for the partners, but it's tough. And I remember once we got to the MSP partner list, I used to request my team, be it a salesperson or a marketing person, um, to just update the portal to do sort of a check in the box because that wasn't their day job, right? We missed out on certain certifications, I remember. We missed out on credits and discounts. We had a couple of go-to-market and increased our sales funnel to an extent, but nowhere close to what we could have done back in the day.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
when you and I started talking. I mean, you from the other side of the table, you've seen how a program like this or a service like this could really help partners. And me from this side of the table, being a partner myself at one point, just trying to figure out and navigate this complex world, right?
Yeah, I mean, you bring up a great point, us working together on that MSP program. I was chartered with developing that program. And, the one constant is when these programs are developed, you need a quality standard to say, yes, these companies qualify for it. And we had to go through that journey ourselves. And yeah, I took some experience from my previous role at AWS, but what we realized is we were picking companies like the company you were working for, and anecdotally saying like, yeah, these are good companies, and we like working with them, and they obviously have a good history working with customers. But objectively, we didn't know how good you were with Google, right? And then we realized, and we decided, okay, I'll talk a little bit about the evolution. We were doing sort of analysis of your capabilities internally, along with a couple of other companies that we believed would be our first MSPs. But we realized there were lots of biases in there. There's lots of gaps, right? So then we developed a more stringent process around auditing MSPs. And then we took it even a step further, and we brought in a third party, an objective third party to kind of help analyze it and help us do that. So fast forward to today, as you mentioned, that was like 6, 7, 8 years ago. Companies like the majority of these programs have a stringent process to qualify these partners, and there's all these different tracks and specializations and certifications. And all of those have very stringent processes of how to qualify these partners. And the reality is the majority of companies can't keep up. If you think about, if you're a 200-person services company, you're a good company, you're probably earning, tens or hundreds of millions of dollars a year in revenue. But you're not resource rich, you're not personnel rich. And, the majority of your people are typically always, what you would call, in a services company, you have people who are on hourly rates, right? So you got to keep them active. And then you hire salespeople, and they're very specific to a dollar amount. But in the partner world, you hire partner managers and partner leaders who also have a revenue target and sales targets. So that makes it hard for them to sit down and say, well, I'm going to spend my day figuring out how my partners are qualified and how my partners are matching leads with our leads. And that's where this comes in. This is where really kind of the magic happens, where you can outsource this to an ARMaaS service. That's where it came to me. And I wish this service existed for me to hire. We did hire contractors. We did a lot of contractor hiring to do administrative work at all, whether at the partners or when I worked for the major clouds. But they were very tactical. Like, I hired them to say, okay, I got this administrative task, please do it. Please enter. It's like data entry at the end of the day.
Yes.
Versus a holistic understanding of all aspects of the program. Bringing in experts on the program, advising us what to do would really be a game changer. And so, that's obviously how we ended up where we are in this growing service that we're delivering called ARMaaS.
Absolutely. And GCP, Azure, AWS, Snowflake, IBM, whatever else, right? I mean, they want, I remember Google really talking about partner attach, 100% partner attach, right? Because no one can do it just themselves. Where we are today with the kind of data, LLMs, AI, generative AI, it's going to go gangbusters if it hasn't already. So keeping up for any company, I mean, there's enough and more for any organization, be it a cloud service provider or a partner, ISV, SI, GSI, or a services company. right? Services companies are coming up with their own products, generative AI products, but they need to be out there for them to increase their sales channel and sales funnel. Hence, all these cloud providers want the right kind of partners, and they provide the right kind of support and incentives. But this surely is a gap that you and I are trying to fill with ARMaaS, where we want to make sure, be it the sales funnel, which is super important, top line growth, be it joint go to market, which impacts the sales funnel, right? Immediately. Why would you not want to go to market with an Azure or a GCP or an AWS? So many more doors would be opened for you, no matter which organization you are from, right?
Yeah, and I do want to talk a little bit about, a lot of companies think about this as sort of, the analogy would be like a test at school. Like, yeah, I got to go to school, I've got to take tests, I got to pass exams, I've got to do these things, and those are your inputs. But your outputs are like, well, if you have good grades and you do really well, you're going to come out of school and you're going to get job offers and you're going to be more successful, right? Like, we all know that.
Yeah.
And it's not unlike that, right? It's sort of like, all this work that we can do and we can streamline and take advantage of, again, I'll use the school analogy, like, take the more advanced classes, join up for different, honor clubs and things like that. That all benefits you. But you got to go find it and you got to go know about it. You got to do it and you got to be successful at it. And that's what we do. And so the output is, let's talk about co-selling with Microsoft, right? Like, now there's an awareness of your company as a partner, because you have 200 co-selling opportunities, and there's, a 24 reps at Microsoft that have sold your product and kind of understand what it is. They're not going to be experts on your product. They never are, but they're going to go into the portal, they're going to learn about you, and you're going to fill a gap of a solution they're building with a customer. And that's how they find you. If you're not there, if you don't have all the information, if you're not qualified, they're not going to pick you. They're going to pick someone else. And so that's so essential to co-selling. And so all the work that we do at ARMaaS, gets you in front of all these key stakeholders. And that trickles down. It trickles down into product, because product, if you're an ISV, product cares about how your solution helps what they're doing. I spent so much time running emerging partners at AWS. We were so dependent on, the product teams would come to us to find companies that would fill gaps in their solution, right? So, yeah, it's so essential to do that, to get the right outcomes, and to create, the awareness of what you are doing as a partner with these companies, and it's impossible to do without putting in these kinds of investments.
You're absolutely right. And that's the larger and the bigger picture, right? And the end goal for any organization. But then there are other things equally important, but which lead to top line growth, right? And here we're talking about credits and discounts for your product build, right? Certifications, discounts on certifications, which is a bare minimum if you want to remain in a certain program at a certain level, right? Going up the tier level, and those tiers are changing, specializations are changing, like you mentioned, they're changing every 6 months, 8 months, every year, right? So how do you keep up? First up, how are you aware? Then how do you keep up, and what do you need to do? Right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, certifications is the whole thing where, if you think in the service company world, you have to have a certain amount of people certified. And that number is quite large if you're going to be an advanced or a premier partner. And it's not one and done. So let's just say, as an example, if you get 25 people certified, a year later, you're going to still need 25 people. So if you've had some attrition, you've got a gap. Right? You might not think about it. Everyone kind of rallies and gets people certified, and then everyone moves on. And then you get this nasty gram email from your cloud partner saying, hey, you're not going to be qualified next year because you only have, half that amount certified. Because, these other half either doing something else at your company or not with your company. So it's very, very dynamic, and we stay on top of that, every day. And then the certification process is typically a choice by the employee. So, you got to incent the employees. And the good thing is the cloud partners a lot of times have incentive for the employees. They give credits to make it free to get the training. They sometimes pay, as you know, we ran a program where we would pay companies to get people certified,
Yes.
in a competitive environment. But you got to know about it. You got to take advantage of it, and you've got to stay on top of it literally on a daily basis. And that's what we do on the certification side. You had mentioned, incentives as well. That's a lot of times no one really owns the incentives a lot of times at a company, right? Like no one says, well, you go into a meeting, you say, how many customers are we going to sell to? What's our revenue going to be? All those classic discussions, but no one says, well, what are we earning from, Microsoft or AWS through co-marketing funds, credits, et cetera. No one really tracks that, but the numbers are quite large and quite impactful. I was working with a company that was needed to develop an app for Teams, apparently. And, ARMaaS service discovered, hey, when you build a Teams app, Microsoft gives you $50,000. They incent you to build your app.
Wow.
So that was like, oh, great. How do we use that 50? It's dollars, it's money. You can use it however you want. And each app you build, so if you have other solutions and build other apps, you can earn this money. And so, and that's great, especially if you need a budget to like do some additional marketing. You create that flywheel effect. Let's take that, let's reinvest it in co-selling and co-marketing. Let's take that over to their marketing program, plug it into there where they have a 50,000 match. So now I have $100,000 in marketing that I can just run a campaign specific to, let's say I'm going after a certain vertical like retail. Build a campaign, go after it, co-brand it with Microsoft or Amazon or Google. And again, finding these, taking advantage of them and turning them into, customers and results is what we've been doing. And it's been great. And it's my thesis from these years working as a partner leader is getting proven out by this service.
Absolutely. I remember one of the cloud providers giving me and my company a couple of $1 million because they came out of the marketing development fund, and we built a co-workspace with that cloud provider as well. Fantastic stuff, right? And apart from the credits and discounts, you have, I don't think I can even keep up, but MDF, marketing development funds, PSF, professional services funds, and whatnot. But most organizations, if not all, don't even know about it and don't know how to get those funds to really, like you said, get into that flywheel effect.
Yeah, exactly. So it's super important. Another story is a lot of times, there's turnover in these companies, right? So you have someone brought on for partners. They work on the portal, they do things, they get them set up. Again, it's dynamic, it's not static. That's actually one thing we really have to, make clear. Everything is dynamic, everything changes every day. It's not set it and forget it. And so this company that we went into and we're getting set up, running our initial assessment and everything, it's like, you're earning close to $10,000 a month in the Microsoft Partner Program. And no one at the company had any idea. So we go in and we realize that, this program was set up because of some tracking of what they were doing in the program, kind of in an automated way. They were just getting these funds every month. I think it was based on customers that they had already reported. So they reported a few customers. These customers were successful in Microsoft. They were getting incentives for that.
Right.
But they weren't even adding new customers. So they could have been adding to this incentive pool. I remember the CFO of the company was super excited because they were looking for, different ways to get different revenue in and different revenue streams. So it wasn't the biggest revenue stream for the company, but it was like, you're doing 10, we could probably 5x that or more and take advantage of that. So that's just a great example of like, setting it and forgetting it. And I will say, I do want to pick up a very consistent trend I've seen over my career is a lot of times companies will hire like a partner person, and they'll hire someone who's very senior. They'll have aspirations of that person building a team and being, running a partner organization. But they also, thinking quarterly, right? So they'll bring in a partner leader that they'll say, okay, let's, the plan is you're going to hire 5 partner managers in the next 12 months, but we do want to see a certain amount of revenue. If there's no foundation for partners when that person comes in, that's an impossible task because they have to do all the partner building. And even if there are partners, how set up are they for partners? So again, ARMaaS can be used as a service either pre or post hiring your partner leader to get everything running and active so that they can go and meet with the C-levels at the companies and do the bigger picture things and do the transformational things. And meanwhile, all the portal work across their multiple partners is being optimized, effective, earning money, co-selling, co-marketing, etc. So it's such a clear line of how partner leadership and partner teams can work with ARMaaS to just accelerate their success and reach all the targets that everyone's dreaming about. Because when you bring in someone senior and you say, 80% of your day is going to be in this portal, entering leads, you're setting everyone up for failure.
You're absolutely right. And I'll just take a leaf from what you just said. I mean, every day, given, where we are with LLMs and ML, AI, generative AI, every day on LinkedIn, with news articles, I'm reading that, hey, this organization now partnered with AWS. That organization is looking at partnering with GCP. It's big news, and organizations, partners, cloud providers, everyone's happy. But the first thought that comes to mind is, okay, for how long? Because how will they keep up? Who's going to help them? And at times I really want to reach out to both the cloud providers and the partners saying, hey, you know what? We can help you here. This is ARMaaS. This is how we can help you. We know what's going to happen soon. Things are going to change. So how do you see all of that, Zoltan? And how should people really reach out to us? What should we do? I know you know me. We really want to help here. I think this is a great space, and we can give back what we've learned. But how do you think, how are things looking near future?
Yeah, the near future is, we're seeing success. We're getting our message across. I think we're going to continue to push to get this understanding through. We see a lot of success actually in sort of that example I talked about where, you have this partner team where you would think, well, I just hired a partner team. Why should I outsource this? And then you realize quickly that, you're hiring people for a much bigger, more strategic role.
Exactly.
It's almost like another analogy would be like you hire a VP of sales and then you're like, oh, you know what? You're in charge of sales ops too. Like sales ops is a super important company. I don't know any company that doesn't invest, a good amount into sales ops, right? You're guaranteed to fail if you don't. And so it's the same thing, right? Like you can't hire salespeople and sales leader and have them run sales ops. Think of it as partner ops, right? So that's kind of where it is and where we're seeing success. Bigger picture, I think, yeah, you mentioned AI. That's certainly going to be important in our service, and we're definitely thinking about that in terms of, obviously automating some of the tasks on the back end. We're already doing some of that already, right. And we'll continue to do that. Where AI comes into sort of the day-to-day partner work, I think it'll help with, communication and such. Like, really, I think AI is going to help those senior people a lot, right? In terms of how they communicate and how they can manage things. And, we can almost be a filter. I think one of the challenges with LLMs today is they can generate some really interesting things, but they're almost never ready for any sort of pushing out to customers, clients, partners, etc. As is. They need work to be reviewed. And I see us and ARMaaS evolving into, again, an engine for refining AI that clients might be using to plug into sort of this partner effort, partner program, partner communication.
No, you have fantastic stuff. And yeah, I think everything is an evolution. This is definitely a space where we and ARMaaS can help. I think Sultan, I know you and I have been talking to a lot of CXOs and partner leaders and all of that. But I would love for that to become 5x, 10x. Just folks should just ping us, just have a chat, no harm, no foul, right? And we'll just guide them, even if they weren't ready to partner with us. That's fine. We can help them get there, right? Just I know people don't know you and me. Some people do, but the larger world doesn't. But just this would be my request to everyone who sees this: is just reach out, just a 10-minute, 15-minute chat, and I'm sure it'll be beneficial, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've especially when I struck out a couple of years ago as an independent consultant, the first line I tell everybody is, hey, reach out to me. I'm happy to advise you just on a casual call without any sort of compensation, or I love to share, ideas, strategy. I'm always open to that as an individual. I think us as a team have that same attitude in terms of ARMaaS. So yeah, let's have a conversation. We've had conversations, and I've had conversations where sometimes companies aren't ready for it, and we'll say, okay, well, if it's like a few people starting a company, building a product, you're probably not ready. And I've talked to companies like that where it's like, you'll be ready, and let's stay in touch, and we love what you're doing. You're not far away, but you got to get your product to market, and you got to do certain things and whatnot. So, but yeah, always love to just have the conversation, never any obligation. But, on the flip side, we, regardless of how you walk away, know that these engines are turning, the train is moving, and, you have to be a part of it, or you are going to miss a big chunk of your business. And, at some point, if you're not going to do it, it's not worth being a partner. And honestly, I don't know how ISVs, SIs can function without having at least one major cloud partnership. I don't think it's possible for long-term success. So that's kind of my closing on that. It's the train's moving. Figure out how you're going to get on it. We have a really good way to do that. Talk to us about it, and we'll give you guidance.
No, thank you, Zoltan. I won't say anything more, because sometimes you should know when things are said perfectly. So thank you so much, Zoltan, for your time. I know we've been trying to do this. We just want to help as much as possible. So like Zoltan said, guys, just ping us, tap us, have a very informal, quick chat, and I'm sure we'll learn, we'll get to know more as well, and we'll be able to help you as well. Take care.
Yeah. All right, let's get back to work. Our clients.
Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.